You are listening to How to Get Over Your Ex, episode number 156. I should be over him already. Welcome to How to Get Over Your Ex, a podcast on getting over your ex without it just taking time. I'm your host, Breakup Coach Dorothy. Let's turn your pain into power and your heartbreak into happy. All right, Bravehearts, for the month of August, we are featuring Braveheart alumni, individuals who have graduated from the Get Over Your Ex in 3 months or less program, who have fully embodied the more than move on mindset that we talked about in episode 151. These Bravehearts are going to not only share their wisdom and inspiration, but they will share with you tangible next steps from real life situations that they had during their journey to building a life their ex regrets leaving. All right? You are all invited to our free 2-day immersion event, August 24th and 25th, called More Than Move On, Build a Life Your Ex Regrets Leaving. I am so excited for you to join us. You can save your spot at www.breakupcoachdorothy.com/more than move on. All right. Without further ado, let's get to work. Here is our next special guest. Hello, my beautiful Bravehearts. How is everyone doing? I have a very special guest here today, my beautiful friend, Gracie. She was recently in the Get Over Your Ex program and graduated, I want to say like a couple of weeks ago, which has been super exciting. So much progress made on her front. We're going to talk about all kinds of things, my friends. We're going to talk about feeling like your problems are too small, feeling like your best days were behind you, no matter what age you are. And we're going to talk about shame that we have around not being over him already. So let's do this. Gracie, tell us about you. Who are you? What do you do? Where are you? What is your breakup story that led you to the Get Over Your Ex podcast and then the program?
Okay, perfect. Well, hi, I'm Gracie, and I am 20 years old and I'm in college. So I'm a sophomore in college. And basically, I dated my ex in high school. And then we went to the same college together and we're dating at the beginning of college as well. And we were both like pretty far from home, different state. I didn't really know anyone at school except for him. And then he broke up with me in about October. And it was really hard for me because didn't feel like I had anyone else. And so I kind of started to like lose myself. And then he got in a relationship with another girl recently right after the breakup. And that's when I was like, oh, I need help. Like, I need some better ways to deal with this. And it was my first, it was my first love, kind of like first big breakup. So that's why it was really hard for me. And now I have some good tools.
Yeah. I mean, learning this information and these tools so early on, I'm just like, dang, you were light years ahead of me, Gracie. Do you know that? Light years ahead of me. And I'm so excited for you.
Yeah.
And as you told that story, I think it just brings me back to, I remember a high school breakup and it was so hard because you just don't know anything else and your world feels kind of small. You were in college, your first year of college, but even then it's like, it feels like that's your whole world. Did it not?
That definitely is how it felt, especially because I just like was like away from home and like he was all I knew. And yeah, and like something that also I've realized and that we've talked about in the program was like, for me, that was the only time I've experienced love. So I think that I got so crushed. I was like, it's over. I'm never going to feel that again. Like thinking that he was so special when really that's just what love feels like. When I'm like, I'm romanticizing him, even though that's just what love feels like. And I just didn't know because I had never had before. So
yeah, right. It's the attachment, thinking that the love was attached to him and you can only experience it with him.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, so good. Let's dive in. I'm so excited. All right. So you mentioned that you felt like you were nervous to start the Get Over Your Ex program because your problems didn't seem big enough. Can you tell us more about this and how did you overcome it?
Yeah, so I since like we dated for like about a year, and I'm really young, and we weren't engaged, like we weren't living together, anything like that. I just felt like it was like I was overreacting. I was like, why am I not over him? Like I should be over him. It's not that big of a deal. Like why does nobody else struggle this much? Um, and I think that I struggled with that for a really long time, and kind of just like I started using distraction a lot. And I was like, eventually it'll get better with time. And when it wasn't getting better with time, once he started dating this new girl and I still felt the same, it was kind of like I had to swallow my pride a little bit and just be like, okay, like I don't want to be miserable. Like I'm just gonna like do this. And I think a lot of like having a lot of just like empathy for myself, and like seeing that's like I've never gone through this before. Of course it's gonna be hard, stuff like that. That really helped me.
Yeah. And then one other thing that we've talked about in the past that I think is really good is once you got into the group, having that group dynamic and having
Mhm.
that group of people behind you kind of cheering you on and accept it. You said use the word accepting
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that experience? Because we
Yeah.
do have all different age ranges, right? Like it's
Yes.
not just all in their 20s or all in their 30s or all in their 40s. Like we have people all the way up to 70 in that group
Mhm.
sometimes.
Yeah. And that was why like when I first came in the group, I was like, oh my gosh, these people have kids, like some of them. And so I was like, they're gonna think like I'm so dramatic. And but like right when I posted in the group, that was just not the case at all. And people said same thing that you were saying. They're like, it's so good that you're doing this now. Like, I'm so glad that you're like doing this now. You're gonna be so glad. And so it was more like it was very accepting. And so that helped a lot.
So good. I love it. Okay, so then another thing I want to talk about is kind of what were your biggest obstacles in your healing journey, broad stroke? How did you overcome them? And what might you tell someone who's struggling with what you struggled with? And we'll talk about some of these things, but is there anything like really big standing out to you right now that was like a huge obstacle for you?
Um, two things come to mind actually with this. First of all, just because like I think I had a little bit of like a codependence issue. And so one of the really hard things for me at first was like being alone, like learning to be alone and being okay with it, and like actually enjoying my time with myself. Because at first it was really, really uncomfortable. And it was like I had FOMO, even if it's like for no reason, like nothing's happening, but I'm like, I feel like I should be doing something. I feel like I should be with someone. So that was really hard for me for a while. But honestly, like as I started like making goals for myself and doing like put my mind towards like healing and journaling and like doing something active with my time alone, that kind of helped me, because then it was just making me better. So and then another thing was like comparison. My comparison was really hard with the new girl, like, and it made I got really insecure about like how like I am compared to her. And that's something that like you helped me, like we like questioned my thoughts a lot, around like honestly like what even is beauty, like this is so subjective, and like who says she's more beautiful, like, and her beauty doesn't take away from mine, all that kind of stuff. So stuff like that helped me. And just being able to find myself again through that like healing and being okay alone also helped with my confidence, because then when I was out, I felt better about myself.
So good. Can we talk about the comparison, you guys? Oh my God.
So horrible.
And okay, so I was 26 when I was enduring that. And I mean, it doesn't even matter the age. Literally, age does not matter. But I just remember being so caught up and wrapped up about this girl's French braid. Like she could French braid her hair, which totally meant she was way better at life than I was.
Oh my gosh.
And
Well,
we
and the
can
thing
like,
is,
yeah,
like,
go ahead.
I like it also helps me to remember like the 50-50 thing too. It's like even like the person you're comparing yourself to is comparing themselves to either you or someone else, you know? And like, it's not like they're like, I was always like, before I was like, my ex is so happy. Him and his new girlfriend are so happy. And like, he's living such a better life than me. Really, he's like living a life that's just like mine. He has issues, he has bad days. It's not like his life is perfect kind of thing. And same with his girlfriend. So,
Everyone just let that sink in just a little bit. Words of wisdom from Gracie, 20 years old. I hope you
so
listen to this when you're 40 and you're going to be like, damn, I'm so wise. But yeah, 110%, right? Is it the new girlfriend's having the 50-50 experience, the ex-boyfriend is having the 50-50 experience, and we are having the 50-50 experience. So couldn't have said it better myself. All right. So actually, I'm going to jump forward a little bit because we're already in this area. I'll come back to some of the other questions that we have planned for today. But an area that I really loved working on with you was this whole idea about other people's opinions of you. And this kind of played hand in hand with the comparison stuff we worked with. So where did you start with other people's opinions? Where are you now? And what might you tell someone else who struggles with handling other people's opinions of them? Or more importantly, a better way to put this, right? Or the thoughts about what other people think of them.
yeah. Yeah, for sure. I definitely like right after the breakup, I started with like just so self-conscious about everything I was doing. Everything I did was keep like with other people in mind, like about how I was going to come across, like what's the best way I can come across. And that's kind of how I lost myself. And like I'm really outgoing, but for a while it was just like I was very quiet, kept to myself because I didn't want to like seem weird or like I don't know, be too much. And so then, but then like eventually that just took away from my joy. And so I think once I realized that it's like, okay, if I'm pleasing other people, that's fine. But is that even really doing anything for me? Because it's making me more unhappy. Like, wouldn't I be more happy like not doing that, just trying to please myself? And so that kind of helped me. And honestly, once I like started like not caring as much about what other people thought, like I don't know, it's very freeing, but I'm definitely still working on it because it's something that like I think everyone struggles with. But at least now I think that the place that I'm in is where I don't like get so afraid to literally talk and like to be myself anymore. Now it's just kind of like, oh, like am I gonna look ugly, like normal kind of stuff like that, I feel like.
Oh, so good. Because I mean, we all need to get to the place where we can talk and be ourselves, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's something that a lot of people struggle with. So I totally resonate. I get that.
Yeah. And I definitely struggled with like what my ex was going to think of me. I'm like, he thinks I'm pathetic. This was something I worked on for like weeks and weeks. I was like, him and his friends think I'm pathetic because I'm so depressed and I'm having such a hard time, and everyone can tell, and they think I'm pathetic. And really, like, first of all, that's an optional thought because we know that that's optional. But like in reality, it was also just like I don't know. I kind of reshaped that to be like, okay, even if that is true, like what? Okay, why does it matter? Do you really want like do I really want those people in my life if they like see me that way anyways? So
Yeah, right. And the other thing is, even if we are struggling, does it mean we're pathetic? Absolutely not.
no.
Right.
Yeah,
Which goes
exactly.
hand in hand with what you were talking about earlier before we started recording around I just have a big heart, and that's why I am feeling the way that I'm feeling. And is that something to be ashamed of? And that came with you mentioned, you had a lot of shame about not being over him already. A lot of Bravehearts really struggle with that as well. What would you tell them about that?
Yeah, that was what like I once I started thinking like it's not because I'm pathetic, it's not because like I'm dramatic, it's because like kind of giving myself that empathy, like I was saying, like one, I have never been through this before and it's something that's really hard, and two, like realizing wow, like I love really deeply and that's why this hurts so bad, and that's a really amazing thing that I can love that deeply because one day it's going to be it's going to work out and it's going to be like amazing because I have the capability to do that, you know?
You have the capacity to love. Isn't
Yeah.
that phenomenal, right?
Yeah.
And going back to all the basics of if someone can't love you, it has nothing to do with who you are. It has to do with their capacity to love. And Gracie has a beautiful, amazing, huge capacity to love. And that's why she can also feel so much pain when it's not, quote unquote, reciprocated, right?
Yeah. For sure.
So beautiful. And then I also just want to say for those of you who are listening, this may not be your first heartbreak and you saying like, why am I not over this already? I think it comes back to you've never tried to heal heartbreak in this way. This is a really new way. We're pioneering something very different. Braveheart movement, right? We're doing things differently. We're being brave by choosing to do heartbreak differently. It's new. It's different. And so always give yourself empathy and grace, which is ironic because your name, for learning to heal in a new way instead of going and distracting yourself or doing what you've always done. It's something to be proud of.
Yeah, definitely for a while that like it was hard for me like doing the new like this new way of healing where I'm not like just distracting myself kind of thing because I was like trying like I was like really focusing on reshaping my thoughts and questioning my thoughts, which was really hard for me because I was like, I just feel like I'm forcing myself. Like it's like I feel like I'm forcing this, but really with repetition and time, like of like actually changing those thoughts, it got easier and easier. And now it's like they are actually like my automatic thoughts.
Right? It's with practice. Who knew? Decide, commit, and practice, right?
Yep. Yes.
I'm
It's always
literally
patience.
I love it. So we're recording this before I present the More Than Move On masterclass. And I was just going through my slides for it and everything. And the analogy that comes to mind for me, it around this like difficulty of creating new thoughts is try to think about it like this. You have a garden and it's filled with weeds. If you pick the weed, so you're picking out the old thought and you plant a new thought, AKA the flower is going to die if you haven't settled the soil. If you have bad soil, the flower is going to die. If you don't give it water, the flower is going to die. If you don't give it sunlight, the flower is going to die. It takes an entire ecosystem, AKA a new mindset, to cultivate and strengthen these new flowers to then grow on their own. And so it's not just about picking out an old thought and putting in a new one, picking out the weed and putting in the new flower. You've got to plant the new flower in really good soil. You've got to water it every day and you've got to give it sunlight every day to create and cultivate a completely new mindset, which is what you did. And that's why it's automatic now, right?
It was kind of like a job, I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah.
Like getting over my ex was my job this summer.
I love that though. I kind of am obsessed with that because here's the beauty of that. If you learned how to do that and it's become so automatic now, think about how many. I just am like, think about your next relationship. Being in a new relationship with non-attachment, not being attached to it working out is going to be such a freeing thing.
Oh
And
yeah.
then, right. And then if you do perhaps experience heartbreak again, which you probably will at some point, maybe not romantically, but heartbreak in some way, shape, or form, the loss of a job or family member or something, you have this process to fall back on, which you now know and have memorized in your brain, which is such a beautiful skill to have.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't it never has to be that hard again. So
Yeah.
that's freeing because
I
that
love it.
sucked for a while.
I love it. So proud of you. So proud of you. Okay. So let's talk about this other topic that I wanted to address. So you mentioned that you thought the best days were behind you at age 20, which I think is just so great because there's
It's just
people
funny.
at all
Like at this
ages,
point.
at all ages saying it, right? There was
Yeah.
Janet who was 32 who was saying this. There's people at 70 saying this, right? Like it doesn't really matter your age. Sometimes this is the thought that you're thinking is the best days were behind you. And it just really goes to show you that age doesn't matter. So tell us more about this. How did you change your mindset around it?
Well, okay. Once I realized like how temporary everything is. Okay, I need to like explain this better. I feel like, but like if I look back like 5 years ago, my life was like drastically different than it is now. And like everything is so temporary, then that like sadly means that some of the happiest times are temporary, but that also means some of the saddest times are temporary. So like once I realized that life comes in waves and there's going to be really good times again and then really bad times again, it kind of was like freeing. And it was something that I would tell myself all the time was like, nothing bad lasts forever. Like it can't be bad forever. Literally nothing bad. Like you can't just be like that depressed all the time. There's highs and lows, and like I kind of found peace in that. So I don't know, that helped me. And then
you have such great words of wisdom. I feel like we're reading an inspirational book, like we're listening to an inspirational audiobook around self-help.
I feel so
like
preachy.
it's so good though. I mean, it's all real, and that's what I love about it. That's amazing.
For sure. But yeah, just realizing also that like I kind of like had the same thing with people, like realizing people are temporary. I was like, my ex was the most amazing person ever. Like, I'm never gonna find anyone like that. Okay, like, no, there's a lot of really cool people, like people that I was friends with when I was like 10 that I really loved, and now they're not in my life anymore. And like, that sucks, but I don't sit around and get super sad about it because I have these new people that are also really cool,
Yeah, what a great example. I love that. Oh, Gracie, you're so amazing. Please tell us, is there anything else that you want to share with the Bravehearts? They're going to be so grateful for everything that you've shared so far.
Oh my gosh, now it's like putting me on the spot. I don't think so.
If there is, you can always come back on. We'll do another episode. It will be great.
For sure.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Gracie. We appreciate you. Sending you all of the love.
You.
If you're loving the How to Get Over Your Ex podcast and you want to learn how to get over your ex and build a life bigger and better than the one you had with your ex, I would love to personally invite you to take this work deeper at breakupcoachdorothy.com/next steps.